With your permission, let's have some fun and then let me take you into the neuroscience of change. Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity right at the end to ask questions, so hang on to your questions right at the end, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to have some fun and ask some questions. Anything that you want to know, feel free, throw it at me. Let's see if we can get ourselves through it. Okay, so let's start off by how did we get here? What do I know about neuroscience, of all things? So I wrote a book in 2011 called Live on Purpose, and I'd been traveling around the world. I'd worked in about 26 different countries, and I was really interested. Why is it some people are very successful and other people are not? And I started looking around and started studying, and I realized that, why is it we do what we do when we know what we know? There's got to be a reason. So I started studying neuroscience, I started studying whatever I could. I stood on the shoulders of giants. I have a look at some of the people that I've studied to get here, and Dr. John Medina, Dr. Evian Gordon, Dr. Martin Newman. We went and did a lot of emotional intelligence work, and that's when I really started getting interested in the brain and how it works. And we looked at people like Dr. Maxwell Maltz, who wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, Dr. Caroline Leaf, phenomenal speaker on neuroscience, Joe Dispenza, George Kappas, Milton Erickson, and yes, Tony Robbins, all right, because he does know a few things about a few things, all right, and Chloe Madanis. So I studied all of these people, and I really got interested in the neuroscience, and I wanted to take it further, so not just have some fleeting understanding of it, just really get in. Because you can sit and talk to people, and you can have a conversation about why they are where they are, and they have the aha moment, yet they don't follow through. Has anyone ever seen that? You can tell somebody, like, hey, this is what I think you should do, and it's absolutely the right thing to do, yet they don't follow through. And I was completely perplexed. How is this possible? Right? We know better. Why do we carry on doing exactly the same thing? And this is where my love for neuroscience happened to start. So these are the giants that I've stood on, and I would ask you, all right, to do one of three things today. So you either adopt what I tell you and go, okay, that's cool, or you adapt what you already know, or you can reject this completely. All three of those are available to you. But if you do reject it, I'd love to hear what your alternative is. Okay. So I suggest you read. I suggest, be careful about YouTube clips. There's a whole lot out there that some will take you in the wrong direction, some will take you in the right direction. But test it for yourself. Check it out for yourself. Don't just believe what we say. Check it out for yourself. All right, so I'm going to give you what I know. My present state of ignorance, this is what I know. So when we're working predominantly with clients, some clients are lucky enough, oops, what happened there? Some clients are lucky enough to have a blank screen. Hey, Chris, I need you. Some clients are lucky enough to actually know what they want out of life, like what their target is in life. A lot of people don't. I love what Mark Twain said. He said, the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and then the day you find out why. Now, a lot of people have no clue as to why they're here, what it is you're doing. And Nicole and I always start off our meetings and our conversations rather controversially by saying, what does an extraordinary life look like for you? And is this it? And you watch people squirm, all right? Because they don't know. People don't know. We don't think about these things. We don't think about what extraordinary is, because we've been told what extraordinary is. We've been told how to live. We've been told what to do, what to buy, where to live, that money is important. We've been told all these things. So if you have a target, if you're lucky enough to have a target, then if you hit your target, then that's great. But if you don't hit your target, it's because of the action that you've taken. How many of you know cognitively what you want, but yet you are not taking action towards that? Put up your hand if you're honest with that one. We know, yeah? Look around. This is normal. So if we're trying to hit a target, we need to take some sort of action. Now, what will determine the action we take are the decisions that we make. And it's the quality of your decisions and the quality of your thinking that is going to affect the quality of your life. Now, the word decision, the Latin word for decision, means to cut off any other possibility. All right? So there's only one thing. We make a decision. That's it. That's what we're going to be doing. And what will affect the decisions we make? Well, it's the state we're in. Right. Now, moment to moment, the decisions that you make are based on the state that you're in. So what do I mean by state? It is your sense of well-being. It is how you are feeling. And I'm going to say this a few times today. You cannot think greater than how you're feeling. If you're not feeling resourceful, if you're not feeling loving, if you're not feeling forgiving, what do you think you will do? right? It follows on, right? So your state is important. And so if state is important, if state determines the action that I'm going to take and the decisions that I'm going to make, then how do I affect my state? What should I do? Now, there's a couple of ways to affect your state. You can affect it through chemicals, right? You can drink a fizzy drink, or Coca-Cola or some sort, something like that. You can drink a fizzy drink. Some people take drugs, for example, to affect their state. Some people get high on life. Other people choose the quality of their thinking. So let me explain what I'm talking about here. There are three things that affect the state we're in. The first thing is what we focus on. Would you agree that if you focus on what's wrong with the world all of the time, then that will lead to how do you feel about it, and which will lead to then what you do about it? And there's an ancient Hawaiian saying that says, where focus goes, energy flows. If you're always looking for what's wrong with the world, do you agree that you will find it? If you're always looking for what's right with the world, do you agree you will find it? Absolutely. So all it takes is focus on the right thing. And that's why we're sometimes surprised. We say to people, well, what do you want out of life? And they say, we don't know. And they say, well, then anything will do. Yeah? So you've got to be very careful about what you focus on. And we're always making a couple of decisions, and that decision is, what do I focus on? What does it mean? And what will I do? You are constantly going through this filter, as it were. So the first thing that affects your state is what you focus on. The second thing is the language that you use. So last week, Nicole spoke about transformational vocabulary, right? She spoke about reframing. Imagine stay on stage, man, I'm married well, thank you very much. All right, so just want to acknowledge that. So, thank you, Lord. Language is important. Why am I so unlucky? And the brain will go, hey, she's looking for information about why she's so unlucky. Let's get it for her. Well, when you were 12 years old, you did this. And when you were 13, you did that. And you've never been able to hold down a job or a boyfriend or whatever, so that's why you're unlucky. And you just go, wow, what a question to ask. So you've got to be very careful about the questions that you ask. Nicole and I have got a thing that we do. We go, how much luckier can I get when something good happens to us? As opposed to, man, did we get lucky? How much luckier can I get? So invite more of it. So you've got to watch your language. Language has power. If somebody says, I'm going to use the example that Dr. Ken Blanchard used. So we work for Ken Blanchard, who wrote, amongst other things, he wrote a book called Lead Like Jesus. Anyone ever heard of this? Right, you'll be seeing this pretty soon, I'm sure. Lead Like Jesus. Ken Blanchard happened to be in Africa, and they were going out on a midday game drive. So if you know anything about game drives, midday is probably not the best time to go out because the animals are sleeping. Right? They can't be bothered about all these tourists, so they were lying under a tree. And one of the tourists said, let's not put the canopy up on the vehicle. And the game driver said, the game ranger said, no, we should. He said, no, we want to experience Africa. You know, he goes, all right. So off they went, and lo and behold, the car broke down. Now they're stuck in the middle of nowhere, and there are wild animals coming to kill them. And the guy who said, let's not put the canopy up, he was screaming, we're gonna die, oh my, we're gonna die. And Ken looked at the situation, he said, well, that's inconvenient. So let me ask you, out of the two of those, who do you think had the bigger emotional reaction? Ken going, well, that's inconvenient, or the guy who said, we're gonna die? Yeah? It was exactly the same situation. One person saw opportunity, the other person saw death and destruction. So the words you use are very important. Be very careful about what you say. Be very careful about the words that you speak over your life. And one of the ways to do this is to ask questions. Ask better questions. How much luckier can I get? Okay. So I give you an example, a real-time example about reframing. Soichiro Honda in the Second World War was being bombed by the Americans. And we talk about reframing. Let's find the positive. Is there a way to find the positive in being bombed by the Americans? A lot of countries could probably say they know about it, but the Japanese, is there a way to find a positive? Who can find a positive for me? Being bombed by the Americans. If you know the story of Soichiro Honda, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anybody? Okay, during the war, Japan needed metal and rubber for the war effort. Soichiro Honda was trying to create the piston ring. He couldn't because there was no metal for his factory. But every time the Americans flew off, they would jettison their fuel tanks. And he would find the fuel tanks. He would send his people out saying, go get the fuel tanks because that's where we get the metal from. And that is how America eventually lost the war to Japan. If you don't believe me, take a drive on American roads and tell me how many Japanese cars you see. Yeah? So he found a way to reframe. He found a way to find the good in it. Okay. The third thing is your physiology. This affects your state. So the first thing, focus. What are you focusing on? Second thing is the language that you use. Use transformational vocabulary. Use good language to try and help you focus on the right things. And the third thing is your physiology. If I was to ask you to show me, Saskia, could you come up here for a moment, please? By the way, the only reason I'm doing this is because she said he will not pick on me. Never say that loud in front of me. Would you? Sasquatch, up you get. So, could I ask you, from a physiological point of view, could you show me what sad looks like? What does sad look like? Really? Is that what you do when you're sad?
No, I cry.
You cry when you're sad? Okay, don't cry. What do you do with your shoulders when you're sad? You drop them. What do you do with your breathing when you're sad? Shallow?
Depends on the cry.
Depends on the crying. Okay. Right. Do you look up, do you look powerfully at people, or do you kind of bow your head over and...
Yeah, it's more of a hunch.
More of a hunch? When you walk, do you walk with power and vigor, or do you kind of just like, oh...
Yeah, a bit of a drag of the feet.
Bit of a drag of the feet. All right, cool. Thank you. Now, if I was to ask you, show me happy, show me powerful, show me strong, could you do it? All right. Isn't this interesting that she did that first? I'll tell you why it's interesting. Amy Cuddy from Harvard discovered that if you stand like this for 3 minutes before you go and do anything that requires you to be present, standing like that for 3 minutes, it's called the Wonder Woman pose, will change the amount of testosterone in your bloodstream, plus cortisol, because cortisol is a good thing in small doses, and will make you feel more powerful just by doing that. Isn't that interesting? She went straight to that. So thank you for demonstrating. Be careful what you say. All right. So physiology is important. So that determines the state that we're in. Right? Remember this, focus. What are we focusing on? Second thing is language. Say things that are positive. Say things that are resourceful to you. Reframe in a positive way. And third thing is physiology. Watch your body. Right? There's a link between them. So how do we do this then? We do it by asking better questions. What is good with the situation? How can I use this? All right? How much luckier can I get? Okay? So be very careful. Do not let any question that is not resourceful ever cross into your conscious mind again. Okay, let's move on. So what are we going to do today? We're going to talk about how the brain is programmed. Then I'm going to talk about beliefs and associations and your map of the world. Then I'm going to talk about there's a link between thinking, feeling, and then doing. And I'm going to talk about how habits are formed. So we were lucky to have Brad Huddleston here recently talking about dopamine. I'm going to take you a bit deeper into that. And how if you do change your thoughts, you can change your life. So that's our agenda for the day. And at the end of it, as I said, we're going to do some Q&A. Okay, so let's start with how the brain is programmed. Every time I see a stat on how many cells we have, it gets bigger, right? We're starting to learn more about the human brain. And here's what we know. There's about 85 billion cells and trillions of connections. Now, this is important because Hebb's law tells us that neurons that fire together wire together. So the more you think a particular thought, then the stronger it becomes. What's your language? I am so unlucky. Why am I so unlucky? Never happens to me. How come I never get the job? Why don't I ever get the girl? How come I never find the parking? Right? The more you think about this, it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And we end up with a highway to unhappiness. All right? Because we've done it so many times. And it becomes easy. We don't even have to think about it. It's just, boom, there we are. Whew, unhappiness. We just get there so quickly. I've said to people in a coaching conversation, wow, you got there fast. How did you get there so quickly? This takes effort. It takes practice. It's not easy. It's not easy. You really got to try hard. So there are trillions of connections. And I want you to think about the brain in terms of these three numbers, 1, 2, and 4. So number 1 is the organizing principle. Number 2, there are 2 modes of functioning, which we're going to talk about, subconscious, conscious, and then there are 4 key processes. Okay, so just remember this, 1, 2, and 4. All right, let's jump in and look at how the brain is structured, so what it is. So this morning I was hearing about prefrontal cortexes and amygdalas. I was going, yeah, the guys are nailing it. But this part of your brain, the brain stem, this is an interesting part of the brain. This part of the brain is responsible for fight, what else? Flight, keep going. Freeze, yes, appease, and play possum. Yeah, just lie there. Laugh. You heard this morning about a story about somebody who was abused. And what did they do when they were being abused? They just play possum. That is a survival instinct. Yeah, because if I play possum, whatever happens here, I don't have to be connected to it, so I disassociate from it. So this is the brain stem. Now, where it gets interesting when you start learning about emotional intelligence is that all of your senses, with the exception of the eyes, comes in, I'm going to point you, comes in through the base of the brain. So all of your senses first come through the part of your brain that is responsible for flight, freeze, appease, play possum. Isn't that interesting? All of your senses, with the exception of your eyes, come straight in through this let's keep you safe part of your brain. And you wonder why there's conflict. And you wonder how come sometimes we don't get on with people. Right? All of your senses come in through that. That's its first filter. Okay. Then you have the limbic region. Now, the limbic region, don't worry about what all the pieces do, except that the limbic region, hippocampus, thalamus, amygdala, you heard about the amygdala today. This here is the emotional part of your brain. Okay, that's as far down as I want to take it. That is the emotional part of the brain. And these little yellow spots over here, this is called the amygdala. Now, there's two of them on either side. And think of them like a chihuahua, right, or a Jack Russell. Has anyone ever had a Jack Russell? You'll know they're always looking for trouble. Right there, like, come on, let's have a go. You ready? Let's have a go. They're always looking for drama, and that's what they're doing, always looking for what's wrong with the world. In fact, they don't even need you to cognitively be going, there is a problem. They don't even need you to do that. Let me test the theory. Has anyone ever put your hand under the sink or behind something in the garage, something touches you, and you jump, and you're gone, and you're in the air, flying backwards, and as you land, you go, that was just a feather. But at the time, it could have been a snake, spider, something. Yeah? Your amygdala doesn't even need you to be present cognitively for it to get you out of the way. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So I said that all of the senses come in through the base of the brain with the exception of one, and those are the eyes. Your eyes trump all your other senses when it comes for looking for danger. That's how come you can see Pastor Kev coming and going, oh, here he comes. He's going to hold me to account again. Here he is. I'm just going to sit at the back. All right. So your eyes are the strongest. Okay. So remember this part. All of your senses come in through the base of the brain. This here is the emotional part of your brain. Okay, now isn't that interesting? So first of all, senses come in through let's keep you safe. Secondly, they go through emotional part of your brain. And later, we're going to get to the thinking part of your brain. That's why I love talking to people who are introverts and intellectuals. And they go, oh, we're not emotional. Oh, we're logical creatures. Okay, of course you are. The last part of the brain that I want to talk about is this part, and this is the neocortex. And as you heard this morning, the PFC, the prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex, this part of your brain, is the handbrake for the rest of your brain. So while the emotional part of your brain and the survival part of your brain is wanting to fight, flight, freeze, appease, this part of your brain is saying, calm down, it's just Pastor Kevin. All right, he's not out to get you, okay? Maybe he is, maybe he's not. All right, prefrontal cortex. Now, has anyone ever had a situation where at some part of the day your empathy is up and you just lose it with someone and you go, I'm so sorry, it's been a long day. Any humans out here ever had that? All right, so here's what's interesting. We all do that because this here is a resource hog. It needs glucose. And the more thinking you do, so you could argue the more intellectual you are, the more thinking you do, the faster it uses up its glucose supplies, and eventually your handbrake that is designed to stop you from fight, flight, freeze, appease, play possum is just not working. And then we say things like, I'm so sorry, it's been a long day. Yeah? So the PFC is the handbrake. This is kind of like, if we think about conscious, subconscious, this is it's your executive functions. And I'll take you a little bit deeper into that in a moment. It's your executive functions, and everything else is what you have been programmed to do that is habit. All right, this is the thinking part, and the rest is the feeling part. Okay. Now, I want to talk about the organizing principle. Somebody mentioned René Descartes today. Can anyone remember what we said? I think, therefore. Here's something else that he did before Tony Robbins picked it up. He said that our organizing principle, he says, here's what we're trying to do. We, as human beings, are trying to do something. We're trying to minimize something, and we're trying to maximize something. What do you think we're trying to minimize? Pain or danger, right? Because your brain is basically an artifact. It has remembered everything you've ever done. It is a relic of the past. Everything you've ever done in your life is being remembered by the brain. And in our coaching sessions, we start unpacking. So tell me what happened when you were 12. What did your mom say to you about money? Right, we deal with a lot of ladies who have problems with money. Like, what is it about money that's, oh, my mom told me it was dirty because I put it in my mouth. So, we carry this. Money is dirty until you're 25 years old, and then you wonder why you can't make your bank balance go. Yeah? So what people say to you, that saying, sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never harm you? That's the biggest lie ever. Absolute biggest lie. So we want to minimize danger and we want to maximize something else. What is the thing we're trying to maximize? Pleasure or reward. Brad gave you a clue about what that reward actually is. One of the rewards we're looking for is dopamine. We become dopamine addicts. We're looking for dopamine. Let me ask anyone here in this room, has anyone ever created a list of things to do? Anyone list takers or list makers? Has anyone ever written something or done something that's not on the list and then gone and put it on the list just so you can cross it off? You've done that? Addict. You're a dopamine addict. You go, woo, look at that. So what dopamine does is it helps us to set goals. Right? It helps us to set goals. I need to find food. There's an apple tree, dopamine. Let's walk towards the apple tree. We get closer, dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. Got the apple in my hand, dopamine. Very clever. This brain of ours is very clever. Who has an iPhone, like a new iPhone? All right. Who's like upgraded from the previous iPhone? Anybody? Okay, do you remember when you got your new iPhone? You've done this several times, but how excited were you when you got your new iPhone? You're like, whoa, look at this, I got the new iPhone. How good is this? And then you take it, and then if you've done what they've asked you to do, you plug it into iTunes and you press sync, and then it goes, whoop, whoop, and then all of a sudden it's exactly the same as your old phone, just slightly bigger. Yeah? And your excitement lasts you how long? That's the way the brain is designed. You're not supposed to be happy for very long, because then we stop paying attention to the things around us. So we're designed to get back to set point really, really quickly. And tell me anybody, has anyone ever had a run-in with someone or some sort of negative turning point with anybody in their life that happened more than 10 years ago? Anybody with something more than 10? How about more than 20? Anybody more than 20? Yes? Anybody more than 30? You're showing your age? Anything more than 120 years, sir? No? Okay, cool. So, all right. Why is it that when we think about something that's negative and something that's bad, we can remember it with crystal clarity? We can go, I remember the day. It was a Wednesday. It was raining. The rain was coming in from the east, and my father said to me, be a man, not his underpants. He didn't say that. I was just wanting to see if anyone would take it. Right? If I wanted to do, if you want to do something right, you got to do it yourself. That was my dad thing. He would say that. Right? And then it sticks with you. And then years later, you are still operating out of that paradigm. You're still operating out of the paradigm of what somebody has told you. And here's why, right? Because there are 5 times as many networks looking for what's wrong with the world as what's right with the world. 5 times as many, all right? That's why the survival instinct is so strong in us. Now, here's the problem. The brain doesn't know the difference between a lion chasing you and some sort of social threat. Like if your boss or if your wife says to you, yeah, can we have a conversation with you about your attitude the past few days? It's the same trigger as I'm coming at you with a knife. It's exactly the same. Your brain does not know the difference between a real threat and a social threat. So just remember that the first thing, organizing principle, is that you are designed to minimize danger, maximize reward, and the reward is dopamine in some cases. There are 5 times as many neural networks looking for what's wrong as opposed to what's right, and it's very easy to remember things years and years later. In fact, if I take you there and I ask you, tell me what happened, who said what, and how did you feel about it, and how did it affect your life? Physiologically, if we hook you up, right, to the machines, we could tell that you're going to start sweating, your breathing's going to change, your heart rate is going to change, and all that from just thinking about a situation as opposed to actually being in a real life dangerous situation. Just thinking about it. That's the curse of being human. We can actually sit around and create drama for ourselves. Without any drama being present, we can create massive drama, and we don't even need real drama because we're doing it ourselves, and we're very good at it. And we know how to tell ourselves a story. Okay, so let's look at the two modes of functioning. And we're going to start off talking about the conscious mind, and I've said to you that the conscious mind is only about 5% of your operating system, and the subconscious mind is about 95% of your operating system. And what does the conscious mind do? The conscious mind is about logic, reasoning, right? And it's about creativity. That's where you think, that's where you ideate. That's where we can create art, and we can draw stuff, and we can dance and sing. Right? That's part of your brain. Who knows what this means? Good, absolutely. And it's because of this part of our conscious mind, because of this creativity, that we understand signs and symbols and artifacts. We know that this means this is good. We get that, right? And 5% of your operating system is conscious. Now, if only 5% of your mind is conscious, then you'll hear a lot of people talking about positive psychology. Now, there is a place for positive psychology, being positive, not at the expense of reality. So, yes, surround yourself with positive messages. Have positive messages around you, absolutely. But that's not enough to get you to make massive change. You may go, aha, I'm illuminated. I understand that I should possibly start smoking or stop smoking or whatever it is for you. But to follow through requires more than just the cognitive part of your mind. It needs you to get into the actual operating system. What was that we saw this morning about your dominant thought? You follow your dominant thought. That was Earl Nightingale that spoke about that. He says, your life will become a reflection of your dominant thought. Do you know people that are always happy no matter what? Do you know people that are always angry no matter what? Do you know people that are always sad no matter what? Yeah, because we tell ourselves the story over and over and over again, and then we become good at it, and it becomes who we are. And then somebody comes along and says, no, be happy. No, I don't know how to be happy. I know how to do sad. I know that syntax. I know how to do this constantly. In fact, I'm very good at it. In fact, I've done it so many times, I'm starting to develop a hunchback. All right, we're very good at that. So let's look at the subconscious mind. What goes on in there? Anything that you do repeatedly becomes a skill and gets pushed into your subconscious mind. Any idea why that is? Why is it that something that is a skill that we do over and over again gets put into the subconscious and then becomes a habit? Why is that? Steve Badley, what do you reckon? Science teacher. Moving on swiftly. Because what? Because you do it again and again. I'll tell you why. The brain doesn't want to spend too much time and energy trying to relearn how to do this. So it says, if you've done it enough times, let's just put it in here so that we can do it quickly. Has anyone in this room ever driven their car home, got home, and then said, how did that happen? And I don't mean RBT dodging. I don't mean that. Your subconscious mind can actually drive a car. It knows what to do. And the only time you will come out of that is when something comes in from the side, something that's not supposed to be there. Your brain will go, hey, pay attention, and then suddenly. So your subconscious mind actually becomes your driving force. I will guarantee you, when you get up in the morning, if you film yourself waking up in the morning, it's actually quite funny, you will do exactly the same thing every single day. Right, gentlemen, for those of you that shave, you will get up, you will put the cream on the same way, you will put the blade exactly the same place, you will shave the same way, you will put your pants on the same way. Everything you do, exactly the same, because it's become habit. Your brain is going, let's not think about this. Let's not give it any more energy, because we've done it so many times. Boom, we're going to do that. Now, that's just about getting dressed. Get in the shower, you'll shower yourself the same way every single time. But that's also life. It says we've done this so many times that we'll just stick it in habit. So if you're used to flying off the handle really, really quickly, your brain goes, oh, we're getting good at this. Let's stick it into a habit. And then what happens is somebody who does this often, you say, oh, they're in a bad mood. And then if you do that enough times, we'll say, oh, that's their temperament. And if you do that for enough years, we'll say, that's just their personality. Do we know people whose personality is angry, sad? You've just said you do. That's because we repeat the same thing over and over again. Your habits, your emotional reactions, your hardwired behaviors, it's all there. Conditioned responses, associations, routine thought. You think the same thoughts. Nicole said the other day, you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. Of that, 90% are exactly the same as the day before. Exactly the same. So if that's the case, and you're trying to solve a new problem with the same level of thinking that got you into it, I've got a surprise for you. It ain't gonna happen. It can't. Because the level of thinking that got you in there is not gonna get you out of there. You literally have to break the habit of being yourself. You have to come up with new thoughts. It's not easy to do. Your attitude, your belief, your perceptions, all of these are in the 95% of your operating system. So just remember that. We've got two modes of functioning. One, conscious, and two, subconscious. And the brain's overriding principle is keep you safe, or just predict the future so that you can operate. Okay, let's go to the third part. So I gave you the number 1, number 2, and now number 4. These are the 4 key processes, and this is courtesy of Dr. Evian Gordon, who's a neuroscientist. And I always show this to the introverts who tell me that they're not emotional. Now, you saw earlier from the way that the brain is put together, as it were, the first port of call is your let's keep you safe. Then there's the emotional side of stuff. And then finally, the thinking part of your brain. So the first process, within 0.2 of a second, you have an emotional reaction. 0.2 of a second. So what do you have an emotional reaction to? Some sort of external stimulus. Somebody cuts you off in the traffic. Within 0.2 of a second, you've already decided what you're going to do, how much feedback you're going to be giving them, what evasive driving techniques you're going to be using. You're already working out the distance to the next traffic light. I'll get you there. Yeah, you've done all of this kind of 0.2 of a second, all right? And you've got to pay attention. You mentioned you've got to know what you're thinking. So this is called the observer effect. You have to start thinking about what you're thinking about, yeah? So within 0.2 of a second, you have some sort of emotional reaction. About half a second later, all right, or within half a second, you get into a thinking-feeling loop, all right? Thinking, feeling, thinking, feeling, thinking, feeling. And this is where memory pops in. I know that person. They always cut me off at this traffic light. They've got it in for me. Why do they hate me so much? Brain. And the brain goes, well, here's why. Because you're driving a Lamborghini Countach and they're in a Prius. And they just want to show you who's in charge. All right, that must be the reason why. Money's bad. So you go through this conversation in your head. Nothing wrong with Lamborghini Countachs. Your heart rate will change. You will start to sweat. Right? Your breathing will change. Because you're getting ready. You're getting ready to fight. Right? Because this has become a fight to the death. I will win the next race to the next traffic light. But we live in Australia. You can only go to 60 Ks anyway. What's the point? All right? So first of all, emotional reaction. Then think, feel, think, feel, think, feel, think, feel. Your memory comes up. What have you been programmed to do? What do you know? What is the belief system? And then finally, the last part, self-regulation. This is when you start saying, okay, this is just my brain thinking that this is a competition. We're observing. This is the observer effect. We're thinking about thinking. This is what my brain's trying to do. This is not a life and death situation. Go for your life. Knock yourself out. I'll see you at the next traffic light. Yeah? So you start thinking about thinking and you calm down. And a favorite one of ours is, what would Jesus do in this situation? What would he do? And while you're thinking about what he would do, you calm down, let the person go, get them out of your space. Just relax. Just chill, man, when it's done. So this is where your emotional resilience comes from, right? When you've lived a while. Now, when we started studying emotional intelligence, we learned that up until 45, 50 years of age, you will be your most naturally emotionally intelligent. And the younger you are when you start focusing on emotional intelligence, the better it is for you. Really important for those of you who are in the business world is because 27 to 45% of your success is down to emotional intelligence. IQ only counts for 1% once you are in your chosen vocation. People get hired for their IQ, but they get fired for their lack of EQ. I just can't work with people. World Economic Forum says EQ is very important. So self-regulation is a big part of EQ. It's about catching yourself going, I want to strangle this person, and then going, there is an alternative. What would Jesus do? So those are the processes. Number 1, trying to keep you safe. Number 2, conscious, subconscious. And then the 4 processes. Starts with emotion, 0.2 of a second. Then there's a think, feel loop. And then you can self-regulate. There's a concept called a refractory period. I'm going to explain it here. Somebody cuts you off and says something to you. Your refractory period is how long do you stay in a bad mood for? How long do you stay there for? Because somebody could mess with you at 8 o'clock in the morning. You could have a bad day up until 5 o'clock. In fact, you can go the next day and say, what's wrong? What's going on? Oh, no, somebody cut me off yesterday and I'm still having a long emotional reaction to it. How dare they? I had right away. I tell you, this Gold Coast. Yeah. I once found myself driving next to a guy. I had a Golf at the time, and he was in a McLaren F1. Does anyone know what a McLaren F1 looks like? Do you know what it sounds like? You just want to clap when they start. And he was racing me, and I thought, I'm going to get you. And eventually I thought, mate, we live in Australia. You can only go 60. I'll see you at the next traffic light. You can keep your McLaren. Self-regulation. I wish I had the McLaren to go 60 k's, but anyway. There was no regulation there. All right, but the point is, you can catch yourself. And that's the thing, and that's why the quality of your thinking and the quality of your decisions will determine the quality of your life, because you can catch yourself. You can choose to be angry, you can choose to be sad. In fact, you make a choice every single morning when you wake up. What kind of a day am I going to have today? Just like when you get out of bed, you remind yourself about, okay, who am I? My name's Bob, I've got problems, I'm not happy, I'm overweight, no one likes me. Oh, all right, let me go and do that today. And then all you do is just repeat it. Or you can get up and say, I'm wonderfully made. Yeah, you could do that. You can say, oh, I'm sick, I'm depressed, I'm suppressed, I'm oppressed, I'm unimpressed. Or you can say, by his stripes I'm healed. You decide. Okay. So that's how the architecture of the brain is. So what the brain is and what the mind does are two different things. So know that. Your mind shapes the brain. You heard us talk about Hebb's law, the neurons that fire together, wire together. Well, your brain has a very specific architecture depending on how you think. If you have thinking, if you're thinking toxic thoughts all day long, your brain kind of looks like a tree without leaves on it. It's like, ugh. But if you think thoughts that are resourceful to you and healthy, then your brain looks like a healthy tree. That's just how it is, the architecture. When you look at the brain, for example, of a London cabbie, it's very different to the brain of, say, an artist or a dancer, because those parts of the brain that are designed for finding your way around the streets of London look very different to other people. So no two brains are exactly the same in terms of how they're wired, which means you then are deciding the architecture of your brain. And this is what we heard this morning, neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity means I am able to change the shape of my brain. I'm able to change the architecture of my brain. I can create those pathways. So let's create a pathway to happiness, rather, a highway to happiness, rather than the highway to suffering, which we love doing. Right? That's what neuroplasticity means. On the other side of that, you have neurorigidity, and that's when we're just not learning anything new. Right? So our brains are shrinking, and it's in our language. You can't teach an old dog. Yes, you can, if the dog wants to learn it. If the dog wants to learn it, yeah? So because some people have been doing the same thing over and over again, they don't want to learn new tricks because they like being who they are. Like, who am I if I don't have these problems? Who am I? Okay, so let's go look at beliefs and associations. Now, anytime anything in your outer world affects you and you have some sort of physiological reaction to it, it changes your inner world. So when I asked you, have you experienced something many years ago? Yes, somebody said something to you and you felt a certain way. Now, the moment you feel that certain way, the moment you feel that, you start paying attention to, okay, what was that? Why is it that I'm feeling this? Who is it? And if there's somebody standing there telling you, you must do this, you must pick up that towel, that's not a clue into my house. If somebody does that and you feel differently, right, then what happens is your environment starts to affect you. And we know far too many people who say, you are subject to your environment. Who here has ever had a job that you didn't like, that you really didn't like, and you wanted to be out there? Has anyone done that? Be careful, Hillcrest people. Put your hand up, please. No. No, I'm watching. No, you guys are lucky. So you have been there, right? And then we talk to people and they say to us, oh, but you don't understand. In my environment, it's toxic, my boss, blah. And I want to remind you of a gentleman called Viktor Frankl. Does anyone know who Viktor Frankl is? I guarantee you none of you have been in a concentration camp. He was in Auschwitz, yeah? And he decided, I'm not going to let my outer world dictate how I live. I'm not going to let that happen. And if he can do it, trust me, you don't work in a company that's bad or that's worse than what he went through. So I suggest you read this book, Man's Search for Meaning. And then you'll never look at your environment again and say, well, I'm a victim of my environment. No, you're not. You can make a choice. So this is where beliefs are formed. Something happens in your external world, and it gets repeated, and then it becomes true for you. So remember that. Repeat, and then it becomes true for you. That's how we think. Okay. So anything with a strong emotional attachment will be remembered. Anything with a strong emotional attachment. Anything that is repeated will be remembered. Be very careful of what you say to yourself. Very careful, because if you keep repeating, why am I so, and put something negative, you keep doing that over and over again, eventually the brain says, I give up. Whatever you say, go with that. And anything that is repeated with a strong emotional attachment will be remembered even faster. When I was a child, I was about 6 years old, a dog bit my ear, like off, I had it. If you come look behind you, you'll see there's a nice scar, and bit me in the arm, and for years later, whenever I saw an Alsatian, I would freeze. Alsatian. Right, it wasn't until years later where I was able to self-regulate. I said, no, the dog can't hurt you. Yeah, but every time I saw it, instant reaction. Think about what is the brain trying to do? It's trying to keep me safe. It's trying to predict the future. It says, Alsatian, run. Yeah, now I don't need to do that anymore because I understand. I'm bigger than the dog. So your beliefs and associations, if you keep repeating it over and over again, if you keep repeating something negative, it will become true for you. And it will be your map of the world. Okay, just remember that. So, this is Dr. Maxwell Maltz. In the 1960s, he was a surgeon, and he discovered something that he could work on people's faces, and he could make them look pretty again. So he was a surgeon that would deal with trauma. So if somebody had a car accident, Dr. Maltz would perform his surgery on them, and even though physically they look pretty, internally they still thought, oh, I'm ugly and I can still see the scar. Right? So back in the 1960s, he wrote this book called Psychocybernetics. And PCM, psychocybernetic mechanism, he says that any event that is not consistent with your self-image, anything that takes you out of your comfort zone, the PCM is going to fire off, and it's going to say, get back in your lane, because you have a scar across your face, or you are ugly, or you're not good enough. So anytime you do anything that takes you out of your comfort zone, that's why positive psychology on its own needs a bit of help. Because I can tell you you're amazing. I can tell you that you're wonderfully made. I can do all these things. But if you don't believe it, then I'm wasting my breath. Unless I can repeat it 1,000 times and eventually you get it. Repetition. How many days does it take to change a habit? Okay, 21 3 times. You literally, if you think about it, if you've been going for 25 years with a bad habit, you're going to just do 21 days? Not that easy. You've got to do it 3 times. You've got to keep going. Right? You've got to write it down. You've got to experience it. Okay? So read Caroline Leaf's book about switching on your brain, and she'll show you how to have a quick life hack on that one. Now, think of it like a thermostat. So a thermostat is designed to, when it gets too hot, all right, so I'm going to do this. All right, so we call this your upper limit, as it were. Okay, it's like a thermostat. And we do this with our weight. Here's a great example. So let's say your weight, I'll use mine, is 92 kilograms. And the bottom end, right, where you start thinking I better eat something before I fall through my own pants over here, is 85 kilograms, for example. Now, when you're weighing 85 kilograms, you go, hey, look at me. That'll be a Big Mac, large Coke and fries, please. I don't have to worry about my weight. Yeah? And you start eating, and then eventually you get to 92. And you go, 92, I can't put my pants on. I better stop now. Now I'm going to have salad and water, right? And you go, okay, done. Whew, glad that's over. And you drop down, and you hit your 85 kilos again. And what do? You sabotage your own success. Have you ever done that? You actually say, how is this possible? And you just keep going, right? And you bounce, and that's what Dr. Maltz was talking about. You've got this upper limit that you've decided is the best you can do, and you've got a lower limit that you've decided, I will mobilize when I get here. Would you like to know, because I can tell you from here, what success means to you? Would you like to know the formula? All right, if you look around at your life right now, that's it. What you have currently is what you've decided is enough. You've decided what your upper limit is. If it's financial, you've decided what it is. If it's physical, you've decided what it is. And all you're doing is just following through. You are just living exactly according to what you've decided. Your self-image says, that's it. I'm a 92 kilogram person, or I'm an 85, and you will lose the same 5 kilograms over and over again. So can I show you the formula for happiness? Anyone interested? There is one, scientifically. Okay. When your life condition equals your blueprint, you will be happy. Let that sink in. When your reality is equal to what you thought life would be, happiness. Make sense? Because you're going, well, that's all I wanted. I'm very happy. White picket fence, 2 dogs, 1 wife. Very happy. When your life condition does not equal your blueprint, so your reality and what you wanted life to be don't match up, then you're going to be unhappy. Do you want to know the formula for suffering? Is when your life condition does not equal your blueprint and you think there is nothing you can do about it. And you think it's hopeless. Or you go, I am helpless, there's nothing I can do. Or you go, I am worthless. Yeah? Do those things, and that is not only unhappiness, but that is suffering. So you give me somebody who says they're happy, and I can tell you why they're happy, because their life conditions and their blueprint match up. So as you think about your own life, there's a couple of things you can do. You can either change your life condition by doing something about it or by becoming someone else, or you could drop your standards. Very easy. Just drop your standards. Who wants to drop their standards? Put up your hand if you want to drop your standard. Didn't think so. So we can either change our life conditions by doing stuff, or we can change it by dropping our standard, or what else could we do? Well, we could deal with this, because we're not hopeless, we're not helpless, we're not worthless. So if, from a self-image point of view, you've decided, and I'm going to speak directly to the ladies here, if somebody's ever told you you're not good enough, or you're not pretty enough, or you're not talented enough, be very careful what you say to your daughters. Very careful. Because there's an age when they're going to start being very aware of their bodies. Yeah? Very aware of it. So be careful what you say to them. We're quite aware in our house not to say to Jared, don't throw like a girl. We became aware of it way back. What does a girl throw like? I've seen some lady baseballers that'll take your head off. Okay? So be careful the words that you use around your children, especially our daughters. They're going to have it tough enough as it is. Be careful of the words you speak over them. And you may have seen this before, but I'd like to show you again.
I always thought people were so cute when they have the little cheeks and they're like rosy, but mine are pretty plain. If I was gonna change one feature about my face, I would say that I would want fuller lips.
I'm definitely a person that looks tired when I'm tired, and when people say that, I immediately am like, oh man. I'm starting to already get little crow's feet and stuff, which like my mom has, so yeah.
I'm a forensic artist. I was trained at the FBI Academy in 1993 in composite art. Worked for the San Jose Police Department as the police artist from 1995 to 2011.
We didn't really know what we were doing, so that was nerve-wracking for everyone.
I showed up to a place I'd never been and walked into this big warehouse, and at the very end, there was a guy with his back to me with a drafting board.
I had a curtain separating me so that I don't see him. We'll begin. First of all, tell me about your hair.
Brown, long, I guess a little bit past my shoulders.
Your jaw.
My mom told me I had a big jaw.
Yeah, they're brown eyebrows, dark brown eyebrows.
Okay.
I didn't know what he was doing, but then I could tell after several questions that he was drawing me.
Tell me about your chin.
I guess I haven't really compared it to anyone else's chin, but especially when like I smile, I just feel like it kind of protrudes a little bit.
What would be your most prominent feature?
I kind of have a fat, rounder face.
The older I've gotten, the more freckles I've gotten.
You sort of realize
oh man, now I have to talk about myself and think about my looks.
I'm 40, so I'm starting to get a little bit of the crow's feet thing going on.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and then they leave. I don't see them.
I still didn't know. All I had been told before the sketch was to get friendly with this other woman, Chloe.
Today I'm going to ask you some questions about a person you met earlier, and I'm going to ask you some general questions about their face.
She was thin, so you could see her cheekbones. And her chin was a nice, thin chin.
The women were really critical about moles or scars or things like that, and yet they were describing just a normal, beautiful person.
She had nice eyes. They lit up when she spoke and were very expressive.
The length of the nose, what is that like?
Short.
Short.
Yeah, cute nose.
Her face was fairly thin.
She had blue eyes, very nice blue eyes.
Okay. So here we go. So this is your self-described image. And then somebody else described you, and I did this sketch.
I have this whole thing about having dark circles and crow's feet around my eyes, and that was not part of the sketch at all that the stranger did. The stranger's was a little more like gentle.
It's pretty different. Which is very strange. She looks closed off and fatter. She just looks kind of shut down. Sadder, too. The second one is more beautiful.
You think they're catching more of that from you?
Yeah. She looks more open and friendly and happy. I've come a long way in how I see myself, but I think I still have some way to go.
I have some work to do on myself.
Do you think you're more beautiful than you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Chloe's perception was so clearly different. Her picture looked like somebody I thought I would want to talk to and be friends with, like a happy, light, much younger, much brighter person. It's troubling. I should be more grateful of my natural beauty. It impacts the choices and the friends that we make, the jobs we apply for, how we treat our children. It impacts everything. It couldn't be more critical to your happiness.
Our self-perceptions are generally kind of harsh and unbecoming when really that's not how the world sees us. We spend a lot of time as women analyzing and trying to fix the things that aren't quite right, and we should spend more time appreciating the things that we do like.
The lesson there is, from a self-esteem point of view, is even the way we describe ourselves, we start putting ourselves down. Because if you meet somebody at a party and they say, well, how are you? You say, I'm fantastic, man, I'm awesome, I'm brilliant. Everything is just going fantastic. Well, okay, I'll just go and talk to somebody else who's a bit more like me. Yeah, we don't want to talk to anyone like that, do we? Nah. So what do? We dumb ourselves down, and we start, playing small so that other people could feel okay around us, because no one wants to sit next to a winner, do they? Yeah? So when your inner world, starts to change your outer world, this is when you start getting control of your thoughts, getting control of your feelings, and then let who you are, let your light shine so that other people around you can start seeing that. Now that's when transformation happens. That's when you take control of your beliefs, and you can take control of how you feel. You can take control of what you do, and it starts to affect your outside world. If not, you will be at the mercy of everything that's going on around you, and you always will, and someone will always have an opinion about you. Be careful who you listen to. And that's why you want to surround yourself with people that not only just, that love you, but also that challenge you. Don't surround yourself with people that just say yes all the time. Yeah? Surround yourself with people that are going to challenge you, they're going to help you, they're going to call you up when you mess up, and they're going to be there with you when you need them the most, rather than just fair weather friends. Be careful who you hang with. Okay. So the final piece, or the final two pieces, we're going to talk about thinking and feeling and doing. This is cause and effect. Now, there is a direct link between how you feel, what you think, and what you do. If you've been in a good mood, is the world not a very different place? If you're feeling great about yourself, is the world not very good? If you do good work, right, you start doing good work and you feel good about yourself, and then, there's just this positive loop. So there's a direct link between what you think constantly, how you feel, and then what you do. So, we talk about, okay, I've mentioned the word positive psychology, but if you get yourself into the right state and then you do stuff, you've got way more possibility and way more opportunity than if you think, this is never going to work and I don't think we can win. And yeah, Jimmy the T, what do the ABs do before a match?
They get together and huddle
and do the? I'm looking for haka. There we go. They do the haka. All right, thank you. All right. So what are they doing there? They're changing their state. They're getting ready. They're saying, hey, this is our field. Like, what are you doing here? That's what they're doing, right? And then what do? 9 times out of 10, they go out and they play well. And that's what you need to do. And ladies, if you're going to go for a meeting of some sort, do the Wonder Woman pose, 3 minutes. In the toilet by yourself. Yeah, do the Wonder Woman pose, right? Because there's a direct link between what you feel, what you think, and what you do. So you have to be very careful, because this starts with the thoughts. The quality of your thinking is going to determine the quality of your life. So start with the right thoughts. All right, let's move on. Now, if you live by these creative emotions, all right, you start living by creative emotions, such as gratitude. Yeah? How many of you have got a gratitude practice? When you wake up in the morning, you say, I'm so thankful. Some of you have? I heard Nicole say last week about talking about taxes. Yeah, we get to pay taxes. We're grateful because the taxes go somewhere, and not just to the officer who's stopping us. All right? Our taxes go somewhere. But what I'd like you to do, Jimmy the T, could you stand up for me? Jimmy the T. Do this with your hands, please. Okay, keep it closed. Please catch this pen. All right. Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. If this is what your life is like and you don't feel grateful, how can you have your hand open to receive? So many people are like that. They live their life. I didn't say you could sit up, but you can. Right? So many people live their life like this. How can you possibly receive if you're not prepared to open up your hand? All right, so every day you should have a gratitude practice. What am I grateful for? You'll find that you've got a lot to be grateful for. So things like gratitude, joy, love, what else we got here? Inspiration, peace, wholeness, presence. These are creative. Now, where would you rather try and solve your problems from? This place, or a place of doubt, fear, anger, insecurity, worry, anxiety, judgment, competition, hostility, sadness, guilt, depression? Where would you want to live your life from? I would rather go from the top. Would you agree? So that's a choice, because you can wake up in the morning, you can say, today I'm going to live by the emotions of joy. Today I'm just going to feel joy. Whatever happens, I'm going to look for joy. Somebody cuts you off and you say, how can I find joy in this situation? How do I find joy in this situation? I know. Thank you for allowing me to show patience. Thank you very much. All right, off they go. You can find out, you can spin it, you can find a proper way to look at things. And then if you can do that, then how you feel and what you do is going to change. But for most people go, let me find a way to be depressed today. Let me find a way to be angry. And I'll look for it. You know what? If I don't see it, I will cause it. I'll make it happen, because that's who I am. You've got to be very careful about the quality of your thinking. Okay. Let's do the last piece about how your habits are formed and why change is hard. So I see somebody, they do something to me, they say something angry to me, and I associate this situation or that person negatively. It could be your performance review. You know what it feels like when you're going to go for your performance review? Right? So you associate something negative with that. Or it could be a belief system. All men are right. Awesome, all right. All women are, okay, cool. So you have a belief system about what things mean to you, and you've got the psychocybernetic mechanism who's telling you this is how you should think, right? So this is how a habit is formed. There's a trigger. It could be your boss, it could be a situation, it could be a time of the day, a time of the week, a time of the year, it could be something. There's a trigger. And then you start craving the outcome or the end of what that trigger was. You start craving it. And you then follow the same routine. Packet of chips will do. Honey soy chips. It's Friday, it's Game of Thrones, or whatever it happens to be. What do we do with Game of Thrones? We need a glass of wine and we need some chips. Yes, I've got people nodding. That's it. That's how you watch Game of Thrones. Okay. So there's this routine and you crave it. And if you don't have chips, man, that movie is just not even worth it. All right, let's go and get, I'm just going to go get chips. What's open? Yeah? And if you don't get it, you get angry, and it changes your state, and it's not the same, because now you've created drama for yourself. So once you get the reward, this is the biggest drug in the world. It's called dopamine. This is it. This is the chemical composition of dopamine. So your habits then define you. I think it was Aristotle said, excellence, therefore, is not an act, but it's a habit. We are what we repeatedly do. We are what we repeatedly do. That links itself very nicely with You Become Your Dominant Thought from Earl Nightingale. So when you have these habits, like 5 o'clock in the morning, I need to get out and go running. Yeah, alarm goes off. I look out the window and it's cold. Nah, I'm not going to. What am I craving? My doona, because it's so nice. Stay in bed another 10 minutes. Yeah. Your brain starts to tell you, not today, tomorrow. Tuesdays are statistically the best days to start a gym routine. And you know what will happen on Tuesday? It'll be Wednesday. Wednesday, statistically, the best day to start a gym routine. Yeah, when you look again, there you are sitting at 90, I've gone, you 92 kilograms. You say, what happened? Nothing. You are a goal-achieving machine. You have achieved the goal of staying exactly as you are. Make sense? Good. Alrighty. So if you don't take control of your thoughts, your past then is your future. We wake up and we think 60,000 or 60 to 70,000 thoughts, 90% of the same as the day before. If we have exactly the same thoughts every day, then would you agree that we would make the same choices? And if we make the same choices, would you agree that we will then have the same behaviors if you buy into the fact that it's a think, feel, do? Right? So same choices lead to the same behaviors. And those same behaviors would lead to the same experiences. So it's redundant. And that's all a habit is. A habit is a set of redundant routines that we just keep following over and over again because we're good at it. Over and over again. And if you have the same experiences, that will lead to the same feeling. And this is where it gets funny because it then starts again. And the same feeling leads to the same thoughts. Think, feel, do. And this happens over and over again. And for so many people, I can take your past and I can put it in front of you and say, you are predictable. No, I'm not. Watch me. This time I'm going to lose all this weight. Okay. Because we haven't got enough leverage on you yet. When we find the leverage, then you'll move. But until you find the leverage, you won't. Like smoking is bad for you. Okay. How many people know cognitively smoking is not great? I love when Brad showed Camel or whatever. More doctors smoke Camel than anything else. It's good for you. Okay, so smoking is bad for you. We know this. Same thoughts. Oh, man, I need to just get out and just have a breather. Light up. Same choices. Camel, clearly. Same behaviors. Right, physiological change. Now I come along and say cognitively, hey, smoking is bad for you. You should change. Yeah, I know I should change, but anyway. You follow the same thing over and over again until your daughter comes and sits on your lap and says, Daddy, I just came to say goodbye because I heard that people who smoke die and I don't want you to die and I just want to say goodbye now in case I don't see you tomorrow. put that down. And that's not my story. I'm not a smoker. I'm allergic to cancer. I'd love to, but never happened. So unless you deal with this, the quality of your thinking, you are destined to do the same thing over and over again. And you cannot just do it with the 5%. You need to get into the subconscious mind. How do we get into the subconscious mind? Repetition, repetition, repetition. Repetition of what? Repetition of good stuff. Repetition of the stuff that's resourceful. Repetition of the stuff that's helpful. That's what you want to repeat. Not the same day over and over again and call it life. Better choices. So the old thoughts, old choices, old behaviors, old experiences, old feelings, break the habit of being yourself, put a line in the sand and say, this far and no further, abundance is available to me. Come up with new thoughts, new choices, new behaviors, new experiences, new feelings, and that's the way that you can live the kind of life that you were destined to live. See, I think abundance is like a radio station. I think it's on all the time because there are people out there who are living an abundant life. So they're obviously tuned in. And if you are fighting to keep that dial in poverty FM, let's hold it there in unhealthy FM, let's hold it there in angry FM, right? It's very difficult to see the wood for the trees. Abundance is available to you. Tune in, right? Meet God halfway. Tune in. Okay, you want me to be abundant? I'm ready for you. See, what I think happens is you're born perfect, and then we have these layers of stuff that gets put on you. And to break the habit of being yourself is about peeling back those layers and finding out who you are and remembering who you are. And as Marianne Williamson said, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And she goes on to say, when I hear it, when in her words, when she says, as you are liberated from your own fear, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. That's what we want to do. Live the best life. Let people look at you and say, I want what you've got, as opposed to being depressed, suppressed, oppressed, and unpressed and say, hey, you guys want to come to church with me on Sunday? Not with you. All right, so live your best life every day. Okay. Are there any questions? I will stop there. Thank you, Jared. Hit me.
I just wanted to ask you that refractory period. I can have good thoughts, good feelings, have a great day, but then some days I'll hold on to something, other days I'll let it go. How do you shorten that time of negative thought pattern? Like, you know what to do, but it's just not coming as naturally as it would do on a Monday.
On a Monday?
Do you know what I mean? Like, Monday might be easier than by the time you get to Friday and you're like dragging it out, and you just want to stop it. So go back to those thoughts and those feelings, but it's just a time limit.
Okay. Well, to start with, at least you're aware. So you've got to become the observer. So in your routine, on what day do you start tilting? What day is it?
It's not a day. I'm
not a day, just as an example.
Just an example, sorry.
Well, the fact that you know this is a good thing, and wake up in the morning and say, what am I going to do today? Who am I going to serve today? In fact, Kevin, if you can borrow me that microphone, please. Nicole, what is it what you say? Where would you have me go?
Waking up in the morning, setting your intention to say, well, where will you have me go, Lord? What will you have me do? What will you have me say and to who? And you're actually getting yourself out of your own way. And so when you're hit with something that's...
Speed bump.
Speed bump, where now your refractory period is kind of being tested a little bit, just go back to the awareness of, okay, what is it about me that's bumping up against this, and what resources do I have available to really deal with it? So sometimes we get hit with a crisis. Right? Lose our job.
Life happens.
Life happens.
Yeah, life happens.
Yeah.
So as long as you're aware of the trigger, so there's three things. So first of all is pattern recognition. If I know, thank you very much, if I know that this person is going to push my buttons, and I know that, before they get here, then would you agree that I'm forearmed because I know that this person pushes my buttons? So find a way to pour honey on the situation. So you're not going to get to me today. No matter what you do, I'm going to carry on smiling. Challenge accepted. Yeah, so that's the first thing, pattern recognition. Pattern utilization is when somebody triggers you and you go, I've got a way of dealing with this. I'm going to breathe twice, then I'm going to do the haka, and then I'm going to continue. I've got some sort of thing to do. Like, people often ask us, is everything perfect at your house? No, right? But we have some strategies, so we know how to deal with it. So our refractory period is quick. So first thing, recognize this person is going to wind me up. Second thing is I've got this way to get through it. Maybe it's take a deep breath, maybe it's take a walk, something like that. But the third thing is pattern creation. When you are the kind of person who just never gets fazed, right? Who never gets fazed. So, and that's by treating success and failure the same. They are both imposters. All right, don't get too carried away when you do well, and don't get too depressed when you don't do well. They're both imposters. Give it a couple of minutes. Go, oh, okay, cool, got you. So first thing, recognize the pattern. Second, come up with a way of dealing with it. But third, be the kind of person who just never gets bothered. Because there are people who just never get bothered. And as you heard earlier this morning, denial is not a river in Egypt. All right, so that's what my advice would be. Catch it, recognize it. Now, have a plan to deal with it. Become the kind of person eventually who doesn't get fazed.
Okay, so who never gets bothered? Who never gets bothered?
Depends what it is. If there's some sort of violation against, like if somebody's hurting my daughter, I'm going to lose it real quick. Trust me, I'm going to bring fire and brimstone. I'm going to heal them often. All right? You can get fazed, but not to live there. You see, the moment you get fazed, the moment you get angry, the moment you lose it, what happens is you narrow your focus. So this is what happens. You narrow your focus to three things: time, your body, and the environment. So when the gazelle running around the African plain sees the lion and starts running, she's only interested in three things: get this body out of this environment as fast as possible. Now, once she's gone and she's over the hill, and she's now singing Wimba, or whatever she's doing on the other side, she's all chilled, and her cortisol goes back to normal levels. With us, it doesn't. We just carry on, drip, 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 drip. So if you get phased and you're already volatile, then where does that go? That's fire and petrol. So you can go, I'm not happy about that, and go, I'm curious, what is it about me? This person has just slapped my child. Okay, let me go deal with that. I'll get Old Testament on you. Sorry, Pastor Kev. Yeah? But if you live there, so the research shows, you read out the neuroscience, and what you may have read in there is it can take up to 24 hours before the cortisol and the adrenaline is out of your bloodstream before you start thinking again. So you go and give somebody feedback about their work, and they're smiling at you. Yeah, thank you so much for this feedback. I'm so glad that you gave it to me. In their heads, they're going, I will get you. I will show you. Let me show you. And then you come back 5 minutes later. You okay? Yeah, we're good. We're good. No, you're not. So yes, you can get angry sometimes. It depends what it is, but don't live there. It's not healthy to live there. Over time, not healthy to live there. And look at what stress is doing to us. It's killing us because we can't switch it off. So do lose it, but come back quickly. And say, what would Jesus do? He flipped tables, for goodness sake. Wow, get out of here. But then he came back and said, I can help you. Give me the tea.
Importance of food and that sort of...
Critical.
Or, like they say, if you miss breakfast in the morning, that's just a disaster.
For you.
For, like not thinking clearly and,
sure. Okay.
and not having the right chemicals in your brain.
Okay. Yeah. So there's so many diets out there, but there is no doubt that food is important. And if you're a breakfast person, then have breakfast. If you're not a breakfast person, then don't have breakfast. Do whatever your body says you should do. Even circadian rhythm. Are you a morning person, night person, something in between? You need to figure out what your rhythm is, work it out for yourself, but food is definitely important. I mean, a Big Mac, large Coke, and fries at 800 may not be very resourceful, because then what's happening is your body's trying to digest this whole lot during the day, and now you want to go be resourceful. So if you're a breakfast person, by all means have it. But absolutely, watch the quality of your food. Justin Hoyer can tell you all about food and just how unhealthy the food actually is. I discovered, my daughter Jocelyn told me, Dad, this apple's not fresh. I said, how do you know? I said, are you turning when you turn the core, and he goes, it's like 2 days old. And I went and Googled apples, and I discovered that sometimes apples from Coles are something like 9 months old before we even eat the things. I was like, what? All right, so yeah, be careful. We've got so many talented people that talk about food. In this church, we're really spoiled for choice. So go and speak to Justin. Go speak to...
Yeah, go talk to Lindsay. She'll tell you about food.
Yeah.
But that prefrontal cortex needs glucose. So
yeah, it does.
Has
But
got to be
proper healthy glucose, not the stuff that you get from Coke.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Any other questions?
You had a question?
Sorry, could you go back to the slide with like the 4 key points thing, and like, so I know what to talk about?
Tell me when.
It's like it's a while back. It's like at the beginning. There we go. So, you know how people have self-regulation?
Yep.
Does everybody have that?
Yep.
Or
You have it available to you.
is it in different styles? Like, for example, we are Christians, right? And in your family, you think, what would Jesus do? But as a non-Christian, like a non-Christian wouldn't obviously think, what would Jesus do?
No.
So like, how do they get over that?
Yes.
Do they go, oh, whatever, I don't
Good
care.
question.
Yeah.
Bring them in here. Pastor Kev will have a discussion with them about that. So self-regulation is available to everyone. That's just a strategy. What would Jesus do? Yeah? I don't think Jesus has ever been in traffic and being cut off by someone. So I go, what is the spirit of it? Not what would he physically do? Like, would he pull his donkey to the side and say, carry on? You know, so it's not literal. It's not, you know, but it's what it is it's just a way of catching yourself and saying, is this resourceful? Is this helpful right here, right now? Is it resourceful to do this? No. But as I said, with emotional intelligence, you catch yourself going, no, this person's not really trying to get me. Everyone has this. We all have this available to us. We've just got a quicker way that really shuts down any negative feelings that you have by saying, what would Jesus do? There's it. There's no, stop, right?
And like
Stop
a
your stuff.
non-Christian person would take longer for that self-regulation.
No. They could, you get people who are not Christians that are Zen-like. For those who have ears, let them hear. Who just don't get upset. So, yeah, just different strategies. And this is available to everyone because we have a brain. Everybody. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, one there. That's you,
Hi.
Joe.
Hello.
Positive habits, you're talking about, I think you were talking about like the habits, how you can get, have you had an experience where you've got sort of positive habits and then they stop working for you and almost like, you know, you're coming back to this state all the time. If you looked at moods versus the weight scenario, but where you're like, you know what, like or this gratitude thing is not working for me anymore, or my daily devotions aren't working. These habits are not getting that same response anymore, and how do I keep it fresh?
Okay. So when you, that's a great question. The context will determine whether the action should be continued. So sometimes you will do something and you'll get a massive breakthrough. And then there's these subtle distinctions. So you don't have that big jump that you had the first time. So you go, because I haven't got this big jump, it can't be working anymore. And that's when you have to press on. That's when you've got to push through. So if a habit runs out of its usefulness, then find another way. All right, keep looking. Don't go, well, I'm glad that's done, and I'm going to stop now. No, you keep going to get the outcome. And maybe one way of doing it, like, for example, physicality. If I do press-ups, I know that what's going to happen is you're going to increase some muscle mass, and you're probably going to lose a bit of weight, but then there's going to come a time when I get stagnant by only doing that. So I'm going to have to do something different. And then I'm going to feel, well, what is that different thing? Well, maybe I'll go for a run. Maybe I'll do a handstand. Maybe I'll, do pull-ups, something. So you've got to keep changing it up. And you've got to try a whole lot of stuff. And then you've got to have the sensory acuity to know, is this working? And if it does work and then it stops working, then change it up. Find something else. But think about the outcome. What is the outcome? What am I looking for? And then the one thing that I used to get there can change. I can do several things to get there. I can do running. I can do, get the point? So when it stops working for you, find something else that will work for you and change it, because the context could have changed as well, right? It's no longer relevant. So now I need to do something else that's relevant. I need to do something else that will get me there because I've now hit a plateau. But here's the thing. Sometimes we give up 3 feet from gold. Like, we're nearly there. And we go, I'm not getting the major, steps forward that I'm looking for, so therefore it's not working. And we turn on ourselves rather than going, press on, keep going, because you're 3 feet from gold. Do you know the story about 3 feet from gold? In America, a prospector, digging, like looking for gold, can't find anything, and he goes and sells his claim to another gentleman who jumps into the hole, digs, hits once, twice, and was 3 feet from the biggest gold vein in California history. He pressed on. And sometimes we get despondent because we're not getting the quick wins. Now, it's the law of the farm. Yeah, so if you have a farm, you don't just arrive and then, plow the ground today, throw the seeds in tomorrow, and by Wednesday, or the next week Wednesday, we're saying, right, let's harvest. Life doesn't work that way. There is no place worth going to that has a shortcut. So press on, just keep going. 3 feet from gold, 3 feet from gold. Talk to other people around you. This is what I'm trying. Maybe there's just a subtle distinction. Like, does anyone play golf here? All right, a couple of golfers. So the difference between the freeway and the fairway is sometimes just a millimeter, if that. Just hold your club face slightly open. Now you can learn how to swing. You can do all of that, big yards. And then that final piece before you can play golf, and I don't know if anyone can really ever play golf, is just maybe just a slight distinction, just that. That's all it could take. But don't give up. Don't look for the big jumps all of the time. Sometimes it's a small one. That would be my advice to you. Keep going. It's not working, try something else. And you know what, if that doesn't work, try something else. And then, this is crazy, but if that doesn't work,
try something else.
Try something else. And when should you stop? Until you get it right. You keep going until you get it right. It's like walking. You know, when Jared was small and we wanted him to walk, we didn't say, all right, this is how it's done. Right leg, left leg. Here. Give it a crack. And then he tries to walk and he falls over. Right, that's it. No more. Done. Okay. 3 times. That's all you get. No, he keeps going until he got it right. So keep going until you get it right. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just before we move on from that, I was having a discussion this week with one of the young fellas, and this takes it from the neuroscience back to the spirit, where God dwells within the spirit and within the heart. Sometimes the discussion was, I don't seem to be getting anything out of my devotions. I don't seem to be getting anything out of my devotions. What's going on? And we had to sit and say, well, is the problem going to be on your end? Is the problem going to be on God's end? Mm-hmm. It's not going to be on God's end, so it's going to be on your end. God is speaking all the time. He is continually wanting to speak to us. So sometimes the development, like a good routine of your habit with your devotions, then suddenly it stops. It's like, it's a time to go, why suddenly am I not hearing him the way I used to hear him? And oftentimes you'll discover there's something else down in the well that God wants to bring up. There's suddenly going, okay, this has been great. Devotions have been awesome. It's been fantastic, but you've hit the wall because there's this thing that I need to get up out of the well, and that's that pressing in. Mm-hmm. And then you press through, you get that thing up out, and then suddenly it's like, oh, man, it starts working again. So sometimes God draws in close. From that perspective, sometimes he pulls back a little bit to help us identify the things that we need to actually adjust to work through, because we're continually being renewed. Now, I forgot who wanted the microphone. There's one there and there's one here. So
and it's always darkest just before the sun comes
exactly.
up.
Oh, you've got one there, sorry.
She's ready for us.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you so much, Hank.
Pleasure.
Incredible value, and thanks so much, Kev, for allowing us access to Hank this afternoon. Major snaps for you. That doesn't happen at a lot of churches. 3 quick questions. Hank, is there a way to refuel your prefrontal cortex if you, like, there's lots of days that I just get to the end of the day and I'm just done, and then the kids come and want, and then they test you, and is there a no place worth going without a shortcut? Is there a shortcut to refueling the prefrontal cortex?
Okay, drink lots of water. We know that. If you can, get in a little 20-minute power nap during the day, if you can. Have your rituals or your, what you do first thing in the morning, so get up and whatever it is you need to do to fill your soul. Know that when the kids get home, it's going to be crazy, so have systems and processes. Mm-hmm. Have routines. Mm-hmm. Right, come in, lunch boxes, know this. Know that they're going to press you because that's what they're designed to do. Mm-hmm. And when they do, just catch yourself going, no, not today. Today I'm just going to bring love and joy and peace, and you're not going to get me, and just smile and wave. Yeah. So that would be my shortcut.
But as a mom, I feel you, honey.
Because I hear that's what Nicole does, but I'm not
so creative, aren't they?
But I think also, from a tactical point of view, I think having systems and processes and chartering with your kids and your hubby to say, how do things happen between 5 and 6, for instance? Get them involved.
All hands on deck.
Get them involved, get them deciding, what could be helpful, and work together as a team is typically
so you charter.
What could be helpful. Yeah.
So pre-frame with them the process.
Pre-frame the process. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But obviously water is very important, so drink lots of water. Yes, sir.
Is it really important that we reward ourselves as we're going through habit changes?
Yeah,
as we accomplish different. I think we underestimate a pat on the back to each other, onto ourselves.
Sure, absolutely.
If I go for a run and I get back and I think, well,
Okay.
a pat on the back, you got out there and you did something.
If you go for a run, you're going to get rewarded anyway.
Yeah, of course.
All right, no, but you will be rewarded anyway. So
Yes.
think about that. EDSO, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin.
Of course.
So endorphins is basically your body's way of masking pain.
Yes.
Right? It tells you that you're okay, keep running.
Yep.
So you get it anyway. It's called runner's high.
Mm.
You are getting some, some reward.
Sure.
But then you get back and you go, you know what, did I take myself closer towards my extraordinary life? Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Right? And then reward yourself, obviously, Big Mac, large Coke and fries. Be careful how
That's
you...
the answer I was wanting.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful how you reward yourself. And it could just be like, yeah, did it. Okay, cool. And another thing, when you're setting goals, sometimes we look at the outcome of the goal and we go, wow, that is just so far away. You just have to win today. That's it. Just win today. Win what's in front of you right now. Play what's in front of you, win that. And those will add up to a life worth living.
Hey, that change in the habit you're talking about, once it drops down, being able to change your habit once it's in there is really hard.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys ever tried? I do it regularly because you mentioned it, you get up, we do the same thing, we shave the same way, we shower the same way. I actually have tried to do it different each different day. Seriously. I feel like I'm going to have an aneurysm. My brain goes into that much stress trying to do it in a different way, and I always end up cutting myself shaving.
Yeah.
And then I go, blow this, and straight back to it. So can you talk a little bit more about changing, if you want to change a habit?
Okay, so
Like that? It's
it's not easy.
Yeah.
Let's test it. Everybody, if you have a passcode on your phone, change it. Oh, and then watch how your fingers automatically go to the old one. This says no, and you're like, right, you keep going. Drive a car where the indicator's on the left and then change to the right, and how many times the dumb guy. What's that about? So it isn't easy to do, but you need leverage. But you need to get some leverage. And you've got to be aware. Now, as you're doing it, remember, so your thoughts, your body becomes the mind. Right? Because as you think something, as a man thinketh, you start thinking about something, there's this chemical cocktail that gets released. And when you try and do something that is not in line with who you think you are or what you're doing, your body mobilizes against you, and it starts making you feel different. And in your case, you're nearly slicing your face off. So to change a habit, you need to get leverage on yourself. Like, I wouldn't suggest change your shaving habit. Right, there's no point. There's nothing really there. But if it's about getting up in the morning, you need leverage. Okay? And do this. 3, 2, 1, go. As you wake up in the morning, 3, 2, 1, go out of bed. Don't lie there and think, I wonder if I should go for a run. That's really good for me. Because by the time you've done that, if there's a fight between the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, the subconscious will always win. All right? It will always win. It'll tell you, let me say, tomorrow's another day. Statistically speaking, Tuesdays are the best days to start running. All right? Don't go out now, it's dark. And you heard what happened in Tasmania 17 years ago when somebody got run over because they were running in the dark. And it gives you all these reasons because it's trying to keep you safe. And then you go, okay, just another 2 minutes. And as you do that, dopamine, you go, yeah, that feels good. All right? So then it's doot, doot, doot. Now you got to get up and start running. So change habits that take you close to your goal. Change habits that take you closer to extraordinary. I heard a saying that I think it was Aristotle that said, an unexamined life is not worth living. All right? So start examining your life. Start looking. What are the habits that are working for me? What's working against me? And which are the ones that I absolutely need to change if I want to get there? That depends if you want to go there. If you're serious about extraordinary, then you will. Here's what we find. What people can do is amazing. What people will do, very disappointing. Even when you know better. Why do we do the things we do when we know what we know? Because we haven't got leverage. You need to get leverage on yourself. What does extraordinary look like for me? And here's another one. How much time do you have? How much time do you have left? Last week it was my 50th birthday. Next week I'm turning 75. It goes like this. Don't waste it. Use it every single day. Win every single day. And sometimes, we say, I've got to change all these habits because I've got this big goal over there. Okay, that's great. We know that. But how do I win today? How do I win this moment? How do I win this encounter? How do I say, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to show patience in this situation? How do I show compassion when I don't need to? How can I reach out and do some sort of random act of kindness for somebody who could never pay me back? And let me do it without saying, look how significant I am. Rather just doing it because it's the right thing to do. We have enough, you started the word, we have enough Muppets in the world. We don't need any more. Right? The quota is full. Let's go make a difference. Let's go and show people what's possible. Go show people what it means to, to live a life of purpose, to live a life where, where we are what's right with the world as opposed to what's wrong with the world.